Hey, welcome back to the Race BMX Show. This time I've got the anodized gold Mickey Lundy aluminum hand-welded American Race Incorporated frame behind me. I'm wearing a different color hoodie so you guys can tell the difference in the episodes. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, this is part 2 to 26 and 29 frames available to us, aka more 26 and 29 frames available to us. And if you're watching on just Instagram or TikTok, this is like episode 22 because I cut the other one up into minute by minute moments for your viewing pleasure. All right, let's go with Gorilla. First one of these Gorillas I saw at a competitive bike show that was being thrown at Bill from Bassett's parking lot spot. There's an annual show. It's I believe it's stretch bike origins, but BMX is a big part of it now. Anyway, I saw this Gorilla. Adam Mark owns one. Super fly aluminum frame. It has parts of the frame come forward past the headset. It's really an original. There's no way around it. It's something that when you first look at it, you're like, whoa, and then you're like, hey, like I want to say no, but I gotta say yes. This thing is badass, and as I just said, that's 6061 aluminum. There's the brand framed. This is a great entry level bike. It's also a great advanced bike if you want to put more money into it. I don't want to be the guy who decides what's what, but you can get it at a wonderful price. They're often very low, and you can also see them on Marketplace and Facebook Market and OfferUp at even better prices. All bikes are good bikes. Almost every episode of everything that I've ever done for any of these shows, if you don't have a budget, if you don't have money, I understand. Been there, practically there right now. Just put yourself on something that makes you happy, because riding around on your bike when you have no money is the best form of entertainment. So that's frame. Cool bike. I don't get to see that many of them, but they do pop up. Crew. It's another aluminum bike. It's available to us. There's no tiers. There's not like better, worse, lesser, but it is another bike that's available. It's not as dominant in the scene as some of the brands that we see on a super regular basis, but it's not to be counted out. It's available to anybody that wants to ride at very reasonable prices. The framed and the crew and the framed that I talked about earlier, if you weren't as into bikes as we are, you would never know that this bike isn't one of the top 5 brands. You know, it's another great bike that's out there. Sunday, I owned one of those myself after my 2009 Ripper was stolen, and then I was riding a Frankenstein monocog, and I'm like, I need to get back to a real bike. I needed something that I felt secure with the decision of the company, and I went with Sunday. Now, Sunday's kind of a new brand, and they're like probably the most dominant bike in the freestyle genre, but here's the catch. They're not a new brand. They are Odyssey. The legendary Odyssey that's been around since, I believe, all the way into the 70s, absolutely in the 80s, been making components and parts that we've been putting on these bikes since we were young people. Fairdale is also a part of that stable. That bike, I have a couple friends with some of them. They have front brakes on them. There's a nice teal paint job. I don't know if this is the right way to describe a bike, but the Fairdale has a slightly more middle-class vibe to it, but it's still a super dope bike. Thruster. I just remember seeing one of these pop up on the internet, and I'm like, damn, where did that come from? I like the name. It's also aluminum. I see a few of them out there. They're not a dominating brand, but they look like they have great potential. They can be fixed up to become, monster bikes, depending on what method they're using to get those things around and what crowds those bikes are headed towards. Even so, it's another bike to include in the scene. It's another one of those brands that isn't the top 5 brand you think of, but there's no reason not to get this bike. Skyway, legendary brand. They put out bikes in smaller batches. I've seen mostly chrome ones out there. Nobody needs to explain to anybody that doesn't already know anything about our world what Skyway is. They've been around since day one. They're the brand on the mags that made mags what mags are today. This is more of a boutique bike, and you're often going to see them loaded up with profile and bullseye, obviously, So, unless they just want it to be a rider, throw some Skyway mags on it, some dependable redline cranks, some Odysseys, anything is available out there. Throne. This is definitely one of the bikes on our list that has not been around since we were kids. They started out pumping out fixies, and when 29s and 26s started to become more popular in the world, they started putting one of those out. At the time, their frames were a lot heavier, and it was more of a simplistic bike, but they've grown massively. They do collaborations that are extremely popular. They actually appeal to a younger generation than the people that are my age. They almost have their own Next SE vibe about them, and they have their own following, and we have to welcome them to the game. They are somebody that wasn't there, then they decided to show up, and then they kicked that door down, and they have not gone anywhere since. Those are aluminum also, 6061. The Elite. Now that's a brand that I saw pop up, and we all recognize the name Elite because that word's used in all types of situations. And I was thinking, geez, I was about to make this video like 2 days ago and realized I didn't have more info. And then coincidentally, I did an interview yesterday that you can watch on YouTube or here or all the different places I put this show with Frank from Frank's Bicycles, son of Frank from Frank's Bikes. And he explained to me and or informed me that, this is a chrome molly bike, this Elite. That is a brand put out by Throne, slightly more boutique starter bike. And, if Throne did what they did with Throne, you don't know where Elite's going to head. The generation below the Throne generation might become the Elite generation. They really do seem to have a talent in that area. Shout out to DZ as far as the Throne thing is concerned and Black Boy fame. These two guys have, I wouldn't say Marlo was involved, but between the three of them, and especially the two young men, they really turned this brand into something to compete with. They've got their own niche, their own world, and maybe Elite's going to become a part of that. Hyper. From the best of my knowledge, they were at one point, they were more expensive bike heading towards the things that everyone likes to customize, and then they met up with somebody, and now you can get these guys through Target and Amazon and just all your general giant big stores, that aren't your mom and pops. They have a beautiful, I don't know if you call it gasoline or oil frame. It's very appealing bike. I could easily see somebody buying it and putting more expensive components on it, as well as I can see it just continuing to be a fantastic entry-level bike. My guess is on some of these entry-level bikes, if you're not already an expert and or used to bikes all the time, there's going to be things you don't know. It's going to be a little harder to push those cranks, maybe your brake pads, and your brakes are going to be marginally harder to adjust. But once you have the skill, everything is easy as it always was, and I do not recommend staying away from anything like these Hypers, especially if you're a very young person. These kids aren't going to care whether you're riding a Bassett or a Hyper. They might even like the Hyper because the shiny frame. I like shiny things. Firehouse. I don't know if boutique's the right word. That is legendary's not the right word, but they have their own place here in bike society. They're very high-level exclusive bike, known to the word hasn't spread out to everybody, but true connoisseurs absolutely love this bike on every level. It's a 4130, and it's handmade in the United States of America. In this particular video that I'm sharing, I believe that is the case with all of them. There's that one and the one I'll be talking about next, which will be Airborne Vic. Those are definitely USA made bikes, and I believe Gorilla as well, and I'm not sure Skyway is a possibility in that category as well. By the time this video's up, I'll post a little something to let you know what the right answer is. Firehouses are dope. I don't know if you guys know him. There's a rider named Amperchin who had a Firehouse. Spectacular bike. It's the kind of bike that when you're the only one out there with one, you get to feel like you're better than everybody else. Geronimo by Airborne Vic. Airborne Vic is a rider and former Bullseye rep. He might even still be a Bullseye rep turned builder. He had a few different batches of this bike built. They have a rare square bottom tube that when I first heard about it, I thought that was going to be stupid, but I've seen it on the bikes and it affects it in a positive way, not a negative way, especially on bikes owned by JoJo. They've used certain grays and shiny silvers and stuff that have actually not accentuated the square bottom bar, but like made it look dope. Vic's around. This guy is at every ride all over California, handling his business personally, getting those frames out one at a time, four at a time. The brand has fans and the owner has friends. Monza. The first time I saw this bike was being ridden by Adrian Cortez, a man who goes to every single ride. There can be two rides happening at the exact same time, and Adrian will be at both of those rides, and you will see the videos on Instagram. He was repping Monza down here. I've actually been on a Zoom call with the owner of Monza in a business capacity. Not that I was getting any business done. I was the guy that was sitting there listening. And he is a dreamer. He wanted to replicate his childhood lifestyle, movies like The Goonies and E.T. He's just another one of us who's wanted to pull that exercise / entertainment / something to do / way to get around transportation, bicycle out of his childhood, bring it into his adulthood, make it a part of his life. They're beautiful bikes. It's a brand that doesn't exist from anyone's childhood, but his inspirations are so strong that this bike, even though it has a current ride feel, is very reminiscent of all the brands that we're familiar with, such as the Mongooses and the GTs and the Redlines from childhood, even though it is a current bike. It's a 4130, and I don't mean even though, I meant including. He's a really nice guy, and it's a very beautiful bike, and welcome them to the world of bikes along with Drone, another company that made it in. They're not dominant yet, but they have potential to be anything they want to be. I'd like to see them putting out a 29 as well. Black Ops. This is one of those brands that when you go into a bike shop and you're just looking for some parts and some bottom brackets or some bars or some grips, they always seem to have something in there. They also have an excellent bike out there. Their gussets. They put a little extra flavor into that situation. It's probably above an entry-level bike, but would also make a great entry-level bike. It's a large classic company. They're doing 60, 61 aluminum, and their hubs are 14 millimeter. 14 millimeter, I believe, is more prominent to freestyle bikes. But that doesn't matter. A lot of these companies are going back and forth and switching across on all different levels. I saw that I had, on the previous one of the 1 minutes and one of the full episodes, had mentioned that there was a mid-bottom bracket on the S&M ATF. And then I saw that the owner, Chris, had posted up the next day or so the blueprint of their current bottom bracket saying, hey, cruiser guys, what kind of bottom bracket do you want to see? So here we are. You and I, we can make a difference. if you're looking for that American bottom bracket or that Euro bottom bracket and someone's doing a mid, or you're looking for 10 mil traditional hubs, you want to go up to 14s, 15s, or 20s, we as a group can make it happen on the internet. We have direct access to most of the owners of most of the companies. So that was episode 2. It's like episode 1000 of the Race BMX Show, but that was the complete episode 2 of more 26 and 29 frames available to us. I have a list almost long enough to make the 3rd episode, and then we'll probably be shutting down. If you didn't see the brand that you'd like to see on this episode or the previous one, feel free to put a message below, and I'll get them on the list hopefully before we make even more 26 and 29s available to us. So if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button. If you're watching this on all the other ones, do that little heart thing. And to anybody who watches any of these, I just want you to know I appreciate it. Sitting around making these things myself. When I used to go to the ride outs on the breaks, I'm kind of an active, energetic person. I love all the conversations, but I can always use an activity, and I just started bringing my cameras along and filming the riders. These dates go all the way back. You can see Omar's family, Uncle Eric. You can be watching Fernando from Felix's Bike Shop. I've got his kid who is gone from being Pablo, has gone from being a kid rider that was hanging around with us to becoming a guy who's like bunny hopping small ponds and stuff. So I just want everyone to know it's been good riding with you all these years. I'm glad that when I needed to improve my life here in California, that the hundreds and the thousands of you were there to hang out with and ride bikes with and get my head back to where it needed to be. All right, have a good week.